NASCAR universe is still in shock after the wild conclusion at Martinsville Speedway. JR Motorsports driver Sammy Smith delivered that deliberate hit on Taylor Gray during the final lap of the Xfinity race. It completely backfired. Gray spun out, Smith crashed too, and Austin Hill captured the win by driving through the chaos. This incident led to a penalty decision from Elton Sawyer that has everyone talking. Let's break down exactly what happened on that fateful final lap. On the restart of the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville, Sammy Smith was leading with Taylor Gray right on his bumper. As they approached the white flag, Gray took the inside line and charged past Smith. But the JR Motorsports driver wasn't having it. Several car lengths back, Smith dove into Gray's rear bumper, sending the Joe Gibbs Racing driver spinning. Smith didn't just wreck Gray, he lost control himself and collected multiple cars behind them. When the dust settled, Austin Hill had sneaked past the carnage to take the checkered flag. Smith limped across the line in 10th, while Gray, who had led 87 laps and was mere inches from his first Xfinity victory, finished a disappointing 29th. After the race, Smith's words added fuel to the fire. "He's got no respect for me." He admitted he wasn't proud of the move, but claimed Gray would have done the same thing. When pressed further about his actions, Smith simply stated, "It's what you got to do." The accident was just the beginning. Gray and Jeb Burton, both caught up in the wreck, confronted Smith at the Infield Care Center. This post-race confrontation earned them $5,000 fines each from NASCAR. The whole spectacle featured 14 cautions and 102 yellow flag laps, turning what should have been a showcase race into what Elton Sawyer would later call a disaster. NASCAR didn't let Smith's actions go unpunished. They hit him with a 50-point penalty and a $25,000 fine. This punishment dropped Smith from 6th to 13th in the championship standings. A significant fall, but one that still keeps him within a single point of the playoff cut line. The penalty announcement triggered immediate backlash from fans. Social media exploded with criticism, with many calling it nothing more than a slap on the wrist. One fan fumed, 50 points and $25,000, that's it. He'll just do it again. Another wrote, "This won't stop anyone, NASCAR's gone soft." JR Motorsports' response only intensified the controversy. Team Vice President Kelly Earnhardt Miller issued a statement saying, "We've reviewed the situation and decided not to appeal the penalty issued to Sammy Smith. We're focused on moving forward and preparing for Darlington." This acceptance without any fight left many wondering if the team truly recognized the severity of Smith's actions. Elton Sawyer, NASCAR's Senior Vice President of Competition, finally addressed the uproar on SiriusXM NASCAR radio. His explanation offers critical insight into NASCAR's decision-making process and why they chose points and money over a suspension. When you look at the totality of exactly what happened that was discussed, historically, we tried to stay with points and money on a situation like that, Sawyer explained. If you look at the history of our sport, for 76 total years, we're in our 77th year as a sport. In NASCAR racing, this is not something that we haven't dealt with in the past. Sawyer emphasized the developmental aspect of the situation. He said, "I think you see it in every generation of drivers that come through. They have to learn how to race at a national series level. I think Sammy is a prime example of a young man that's got a great deal of talent. Obviously made some mistakes at the end of that race that he's going to have to learn from. We have to step in and help him with that process." That's exactly what we did. Sawyer didn't stop there. He acknowledged the race was a complete disaster and questioned who was even driving the cars that day. "I'm not sure who was driving the cars because most of the Xfinity guys that I know and been around and watched them race at Homestead the week before, I think there was other drivers in the car because it was a disaster." The NASCAR executive made it clear that Smith wasn't the only problem. There was a multitude of bad decisions that was made by a multitude of drivers throughout the event. "We plan to address that with that garage this weekend in Darlington. I don't think there's, again, anything new, and I think there's a collective thoughts around how you correct that, and our position on it was to do it with points and money." Sawyer justified the specific penalty by pointing to its impact. If you look at the way it unfolded at the end of the race and where Sammy ended up finishing, and by taking the 50 points, it moves him from 6 to 13 points, so we felt like That was the penalty that needed to be for this infraction. The NASCAR community's reaction has been overwhelmingly negative. Drivers, analysts, and fans alike have expressed disappointment with both Smith's actions and NASCAR's response. Richard Petty, the king of NASCAR himself, weighed in with visible disappointment. He said, "I've been around this sport a long time, and that was one of the wildest finishes I've ever seen at Martinsville. These young guys, they're pushing the limits, and it's showing some cracks in how they're coming up." His words suggest this isn't just about Sammy Smith, but indicates a broader problem with the newer generation of drivers. Motorsports journalist Brad Gilley delivered perhaps the most damning critique on PRN Live. "I'd have more respect if he had won, and I don't really have any for it. I mean, there were a lot of things that's happened in that race. Nothing that severe. But if you are going to do something like that, at least get a trophy." Gilley's point resonated with many. Smith created all that chaos and didn't even win the race. The consensus among critics is that Smith's actions represent part of a pattern in the Xfinity series. They point to other recent incidents, like at Homestead, where Sam Mayer got into Kyle Larson's back on a final restart, costing Larson a potential win. Many believe these incidents reflect a broader lack of respect and discipline among younger drivers. NASCAR analysts have offered varied perspectives on whether Smith's punishment fits the crime. Their assessments highlight the complexity of disciplining drivers in the modern era. Christopher Hansen was clear in his assessment. The loss of 50 points and a fine of $25,000 for Sammy Smith didn't make up for the fact that he crashed race leader Taylor Gray, coming to the checkered flag. NASCAR needs to put its foot down to ensure we don't have another chaotic last lap like at Martinsville. Nothing deters a driver from taking matters into their own hands, like when a suspension could be handed down. Wyatt Watson took a more nuanced view. He said, "Smith's 50-point penalty did plenty of justice for what happened. Typically, I would consider a suspension for a driver whose actions go to the measure that Smith took. However, with the new rule barring regular season playoff points from counting due to missing a race because of a suspension, the 50-point penalty serves a just cause for the season as a whole from NASCAR's perspective." Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s reaction to his driver's actions has been measured but firm. After the race, Earnhardt posted on X, "This racetrack is historic in the grand scheme of all things NASCAR and deserves better." Many expected a more forceful response from the NASCAR Hall of Famer. On his Dale Jr. Download podcast, Earnhardt provided deeper insight into his conversations with Smith after the incident. "You know, I can't sit here and tell you, oh yeah, man, he's sorry, he's really sorry, and man, he's going to do better." But he says all those things. He says that he understands that he screwed up. He knows he gives himself a black eye. He gave JR Motorsports a black eye. He knows that we're very disappointed, and he certainly has tons of regret.
You know, you don't. No, I can't sit here and tell you, "Oh yeah, man, he's sorry. He's really sorry, and man, he's going to do better." And but he says all those things. He says that he understands that he screwed up. He knows he gives himself a black eye. He gave Junior Motorsports a black eye. He knows that that we're very disappointed, and he certainly has tons of regret.
Earnhardt acknowledged the long road ahead for Smith. He ain't going to fix it in 12 hours. He's got a lot of work to do to repair his reputation. That was a heavy blow, you know.
He ain't going to fix it in 12 hours. He's got a lot of work to do to repair his reputation. That was a heavy blow, In
a particularly revealing moment, Earnhardt addressed the perception of Smith within the NASCAR community.
I said, "Everybody thinks you're a spoiled punk." That's what a lot of people think. I asked him, I said, don't you agree that people have that perception of you? Probably. He's like, "Yeah." I said, you gave him an opportunity to be right.
Despite these harsh words, Earnhardt made it clear he's standing by his driver and rejected calls to suspend Smith for a race, saying that was out of the question. Instead, he expressed confidence in Smith's ability to grow.
Around who he is and what type of person he is. He can do it. I know him. He's a nice kid, wants this really badly, wants to win, wants to be successful, and I want that for him. I want that for him here.